Hello and you're very welcome to this video in our series on market failure for IB Economics. And in this video today what we're going to look at is the idea of the concepts of rivalry and excludability. And we're going to look at these two concepts in terms of determining what public goods are and what private goods are. And then we're going to look at the free rider problem and show how the lack of public goods indicates market failure, and then discuss the implications of direct provision of public goods by the government. So, start off with private goods then. So, before we're able to define what private goods are, we need to look at the characteristics of a private good so that we have a better understanding of it. So we say private goods are rivalrous and excludable. But what the hell do those two words mean? Great question. Let's find out. So, firstly, rivalrous. Okay, rivalrous means the consumption of this type of good by a person reduces its availability for someone else. So, can you think of any examples of what we mean by that? Any examples of those types of goods? Well, for example, your phone, your laptop, your school bag, the clothes you're wearing, all that type of stuff. Once you buy them, someone else can't buy them. Once you have them, that's it. No one else can use them. Okay? Most goods, therefore, are rivalrous. So most goods, when you buy them, they're yours to use. No one else is able to buy that same good and use it because you've already bought it to use it. Next up, what we're going to look at is excludable. Now, as it sounds, excluding someone, it's possible to exclude people from using this good. Now, how do we achieve exclusion? Well, we achieve this by charging a price for the good. So, if the price of the good is too expensive, for someone that's price that they're willing to pay, then they're not going to buy it. So we say if someone's unwilling or unable to pay the price being charged, they'll not have the benefit of actually using that good. Therefore, most goods are actually excludable because most goods have a price, so therefore you can exclude people from buying it by charging a higher price, which excludes people from actually using it. So, let's get to our actual definition of private goods then. A private good has two characteristics. It is rivalrous and it is excludable. Most goods are rivalrous and excludable, therefore most goods are private goods. Ta-da! So, now what we're going to look at public goods then in contrast. Public goods are in many ways the complete opposite of private goods. So in other words, they have two characteristics as well, and they're non-rivalrous and non-excludable. So let's break down what non-rivalrous and non-excludable means. What do you think non-rivalrous means? Well, it basically means the consumption by one person doesn't mean it can reduce the consumption by someone else. So it means multiple people can consume the same good. Non-excludable then, on the other hand, well, it's the opposite of being excludable. It means it's not possible to exclude someone from using this good. So basically everyone and anyone can actually use this good. So let's look at the idea of what a public good is then. So a public good has two characteristics. It's non-rivalrous and it's non-excludable. Simple as, the direct opposite of a private good. As it is not possible to exclude some people from using the good, even though they don't pay for it, firms do not have an incentive to produce it. Because at the end of the day, firms want to make a profit. Therefore, if you can't exclude someone from using the good because they don't have to pay for it, then why would a firm provide for a public good then? Therefore, it falls on the responsibility of the government to provide these public goods. Therefore, we deem these public goods to be a type of market failure. So, can you think of any examples of public goods maybe? So examples would be, say, for example, lighthouses, the police force, the army or national defence force that you may have, flood control systems, public non-tolled roads, research, fire protection, firefighters, all these type of things are examples of public goods. So, let's relate public goods and market failure together now. So, we know private goods are excludable. Therefore, private firms can charge a price for them. Okay, those that are willing and able to pay the price for the good are able to use the good. Those that aren't willing and able to pay the price aren't able to use the good. Simples. Okay, though private firms can therefore charge a price that ensures it covers their costs and makes a profit. At the end of the day, a firm's aim is purely to make a profit, or one of the main aims is to make a profit, I should say. So therefore, by goods being excludable, they can cover their costs, make a profit, and they're happy days. However, though, our non-excludable goods are different. Okay, if a firm cannot exclude someone from using the good, then they're not going to be able to charge a price for them. Therefore, there's no incentive for the firm to produce this good at all. Private firms will not produce the goods, and therefore we're now creating our form of market failure. Because, why do we have market failure? Because of the misallocation of resources. So the misallocation of goods being assigned to these non-excludable goods, i.e. there's no resources being allocated to these goods, this misallocation means that of the misallocation of no resources being allocated to public goods means by the free market means we have a market failure. By the free market not providing these goods, someone has to provide them. That's why the government steps in to provide them. So now we're going to look at the idea of the free rider problem and public goods. So this is when people enjoy the use of a good without actually paying for it. So you know the idea of a free rider, basically you're getting the good for free, so you're riding along for free using this good. The free rider problem is caused by public goods. Okay, it arises from the idea that the good is non-excludable. Okay, so in the sense that you can't, just to remind you, we can't charge a price for it, so therefore people can use it for free, so they're basically jumping on the bandwagon for free. Public goods are therefore a type of market failure because due to the free rider problem, private firms do not produce these goods, so the market is not allocating resources to the production of these goods, so therefore it's left to the government to actually provide for them. Another important term we need to know is the idea of quasi-public goods. Now, quasi-public goods, now we know the idea of quasi. When we hear the word quasi, it means kind of partially or somewhat. So goods that are not pure public goods in the sense they're not fully non-rivalrous or non-excludable. They're kind of a hybrid of the lot. So some goods we can't classify as a public good or a private good. They kind of fall somewhere in the middle of the two. Okay, these goods we kind of get deemed to be impure goods, or impure public goods, I should say, or quasi-public goods. So what do these goods look like? Well, they're non-rivalrous, just like the way public goods are, but they're excludable, like private goods. Just pause and think what that actually means and break that down for yourself. Okay, so in the sense they're non-rivalrous, like public goods, so that means that many people can use them at the same time, but they're excludable, so that means there's a price charge for them. So examples of this would be, for example, public museums charging an entry fee. So many people can use it at the same time. And toll roads, for example. Why do we call them excludable? Well, you have to pay to enter a museum that's charging an entry fee. You have to pay for toll roads. So therefore, consumers have to pay a price for them. So the people can be excluded from using them. However, they're non-rivalrous, as can lots of people use a toll road at the same time? Absolutely they can. That's why we have the joys of traffic jams. And for museums, in that example, can many people go into the museum at once? Absolutely. You don't get to go into the museum all by yourself. So the price system could exclude some people from using the goods, creating the possibility that they could be supplied for by private firms. But there's large positive externalities in these cases. Therefore, there's usually direct government provision in these cases. Okay, so what's the implications of direct government provision in these quasi-public goods? Well, we already know the government steps in and intervenes in the production of public goods to make sure that they're produced at socially optimum levels. In other words, so that the general public can actually use these goods. Government directly provides for public goods through funding from tax revenue. They are provided to the public free of charge for a small fee, or what we call a nominal fee. Okay. Governments have limited resources and cannot produce unlimited amount of public goods. So there's an opportunity cost involved here. They have to pick and choose what they're going to actually provide. They do what's called a cost-benefit analysis to determine which goods they should use the resources to produce and how many of these goods they should actually produce. As I said, there's an opportunity cost creation in decisions by the government. So can you think of an opportunity cost that a government might come across? Well, for example, a simple age-old one is, does the government build a new school or build a new hospital? They don't have the resources or both. They have to pick one. What's it going to be? So, folks, that brings us to the end of this video lesson, where you've learned what the idea of rivalry and excludability are, the difference between public goods and private goods, and what non-rivalrous and non-excludable are. You've also looked at now what the free rider problem is and how the lack of public goods indicates market failure. We've also looked at the idea of quasi-public goods as well, and the implications of direct provision of public goods by the government. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, why not give the video a like? And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much for watching. See you in the next video.